The good news of Christ is not always received well. Paul in Acts chapter 14 is sharing Christ in Lystra, a city in modern-day Turkey. At first, his hearers are so impressed. In fact, they think that Paul and Barnabas are gods. But Paul makes it clear that he and Barnabas are mere men. And soon after, things get ugly. Here's what we see in Acts chapter 14, verses 19 and 20. Then Jews from Antioch and Iconium came there, and having persuaded the multitudes, they stoned Paul and dragged him out of the city, supposing him to be dead. However, when the disciples gathered around him, he rose up and went into the city, and the next day he departed with Barnabas to Derbe. Here are 3 insights from this passage. Insight number 1, persecution. Paul is stoned by the crowd. He's dragged out of the city and left for dead. The crowd has rejected Paul, rejected his message, and rejected Christ. Don't expect people to always applaud when we tell them about the risen Christ. Insight number 2, healing. The disciples gather around Paul, and Paul rises. It's not yet Paul's time, so God intervenes and brings healing. Paul has just been brutally stoned, and yet he rises up. God is able to supernaturally heal. At times we need believers to gather around us, and God to heal, so we too can rise. And then insight number 3, perseverance. After Paul rises, he goes back into the city, and then leaves the next day with Barnabas on to their next destination. Instead of throwing in the towel, Paul is traveling to the next city to share Christ with them. What perseverance! Paul never gives up. In reflection, regarding persecution, Paul is clearly willing to die for his faith. How about you and me? Jesus died for us. Are we willing to die for him? Regarding healing, are you or I in need of healing? Let's be in relationship with other believers who can gather around us in our time of need. And let's remember that Christ is the great physician. And lastly, regarding perseverance, have you or I been rejected by others for sharing our faith? And in the process, we've been hurt deeply, and we're possibly being tempted to give up. If so, consider Paul's example. He persevered against all odds. God gave him renewed strength, and the Lord can give you and me renewed strength as well. May God use us to boldly share Christ with those around us and to persevere in the face of opposition. Thanks for listening.